Hey guys, it's your favorite sisters with the Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver podcast. On the show, you'll hear caregivers confessing the good, the bad, and the completely unexpected. You're guaranteed to relate, be inspired, leave with helpful tips and resources, and of course, laugh. Now, let's jump right in to today's guest confession.
Jay, why are you touching me?
Honestly, as a sister, it's because it annoys you.
That's true. Would you like me to sing? Me.
No, because that annoys me. Don't do it.
That was the point.
I know.
Today is such a good day to have a podcast.
It is. And we will say that the day that we were recording is Emily, baby sister Emily's birthday. How old is she?
Oh my gosh. I think she's 47.
Hi, Emily.
Hi. Welcome. Happy birthday. It's your birthday. Happy birthday. It's your birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Okay, that was
okay. That's all we're doing.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Emily.
Okay. Sorry
We'll
to the audience that we had to sing that.
That's going to actually probably be trending on
Your birthday song?
Yeah. I mean, it's like got snaps to it.
It is. It's trendy. Okay, we got a guest today.
Okay.
Just move on.
All right, fine. This is Caregiving podcast. That's not Natalie singing, the voice.
This is not the voice.
This is the voice. Okay, anyway.
Yes.
We have an amazing guest today, and guess where she's from?
Alaska.
Virginia, because Virginia's for lovers. Although she's not in Virginia right now because we'd have her in studio. But she's in Virginia, from Virginia. Guess where she went to school? Virginia Tech. Yes! Go Hokies! And so...
That's the Charkies. I don't even want to talk about it.
Okay, I know. All right. Why don't you tell us about Eleni? Because she is amazing.
I can't even believe that you just gobbled.
Did you hear that?
I'm so sorry, Eleni. We'll go right there with.
I bet she can do the gobble.
I know. Okay, but we're gonna get serious now.
All right, I'm ready.
Show not about the Hokies.
Okay.
Today's guest is Eleni Paris, and this is one of our favorite parts. We've already been talking about this for quite a time. She is a proud Greek American who grew up in Northern Virginia, surrounded by her own version of My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
I love that so much.
That's
we're going to talk about Windex. I can feel it.
I can as well. Big family gatherings, cousins everywhere, and plenty of Greek dancing in the living room. I love to dance. So Eleni also had the best of both worlds, living in a typical American childhood and college life, attending Virginia Tech, as we said, for both undergrad and grad school. Eventually, she married a fellow Greek American.
I love it.
Family shared a connection.
They're from the motherland.
Well, get ready because their moms are from the same island.
Oh my God, it really is just like
small
my
world.
big fat Greek wedding.
So let's get serious here.
Okay.
Eleni and her husband have been married for 27 years and are raising 2 daughters with beautiful hair. I'm going to toss that in there. Their youngest, Sophia, is cognitively disabled and she's speech impaired, and has been the center of a caregiving journey that Eleni describes as rich, beautiful, challenging, and deeply spiritual. Sophia's delays were gradual, inch by inch, making it hard to predict what lay ahead. From the slow realization of developmental differences to becoming part of, this is interesting, NIH's undiagnosed disease program.
I think we'll probably talk about that because I don't think people know about that.
That's even there.
Yeah.
Eleni and her family learned to adapt, celebrate, doing all that stage by stage. Caring for Sophia requires constant supervision, navigating behavioral challenges, and understanding that their caregiving role is lifelong. Today, Eleni channels her caregiving journey into her work as a licensed marriage and family therapist, supporting caregivers and families who face similar challenges.
You know what? You're going to be so sad that you didn't get to talk to Eleni first because we're, again, besties.
Here we go.
We were already besties.
Ready.
Yay! Welcome to the show, Eleni. We love you. You're already a sister.
Yeah. She's best friends with everybody.
So much.
Thank you.
I couldn't wait to be with you guys. I was so happy. And I already had to see, it was so much fun that Natalie and I had a chance to chat. I already felt like I got to know JJ already. And
There you go.
I said good things about you.
That was so nice of you.
Yeah,
So
I really did.
So nice. Very nice.
I did say that she would like you better than me.
It's true. It's very true. I'll send a card.
Both amazing. Thank you for having me. Really, thank you.
Absolutely. So, I love that you reference My Big Fat Greek Wedding because I think culture impacts care too. And I feel like we're going to go wherever the wind blows us today. But let's start from the beginning, like you were born, but tell us about kind of bring us up to speed up to when care started. So tell us a little bit about your background and then walk up to care.
Okay. It was amazing because I was just hearing you read that, and I actually got teary-eyed just listening to what I wrote to you guys, because it is very emotional and spiritual and all of that. So yeah, so to back up, so I was born and raised in Northern Virginia. My father is deceased now 12 years, but they were both born and raised in Greece and came over later in life in their teens. And actually I was born in DC, but then at about 2 or 3 years old, they bought a home in Northern Virginia. And I really, I was there most of my life, obviously, until I went to Virginia Tech, which was in little Southern Virginia. And then I even went to graduate school, Virginia Tech, but they had a Northern Virginia branch. But most of my relatives landed in the DC area. So people brought over their siblings. And so I was raised with, my cousins in the area, both sides of the family. We had beautiful gatherings, like I said, great celebrations, a lot of love, a lot of support. And very Greek, actually, just very Greek. Yes.
Did you have a Greek flag outside the house? Please tell me you did.
No, we should have, though, because we had some bright blue shutters, though. Like we had some good blue from the blue flag.
Love it.
Yes. Oh yeah, we did. Yeah.
Now, any
Lots
siblings? Oh, you had statues too.
My dad was so my dad worked in the restaurant business, but he also had this beautiful creative side, and he landscaped our yard. We had almost an acre of land. Gorgeous landscaping, and of course we had these lovely statues here and there. And
God, I love you. Yeah. And everybody's sitting there thinking, oh my God, you had an acre of land in Northern Virginia. You're bazillionaires, because we know that land is primo.
Okay, let me explain. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I'm from McLean, Virginia, which is even a little bit, because a lot of the politicians used to, or they still do, I guess, but that started there. But when we moved there, it was more farmland. So it's back in the day. Now we're talking the 70s, not to, date myself here, but in the 70s, it was mostly farmland. It didn't become McLean until much later. Yeah. So that acre of land, that was from way back when.
Yeah. Now, do you have any siblings?
Yes, I have an older brother who I'm very close to, and he's still in Northern Virginia.
Oh, she's the baby.
Shout out to my sweet brother, Costa.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
So, and you're the baby. Is this what you're saying? You're the baby? Or are you the baby?
The two of us.
Just the two.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like idyllic. I wish if you could talk to your mom about just adopting us and your family, we would like that.
We love baklava.
We love baklava. We love any of the food. Yeah, I'm going to tell you that. But so you go to school, you go to Virginia Tech, which go Hokies. You have and you go back to Northern Virginia, you get your graduate degree. Tell me about when you meet your husband, and then let's walk up to care.
Okay, well, this is a really sweet story. My grandmother, in Greek is they call grandmothers yaya. So my yaya lived in the area. She lived with my other cousins, but on the weekends she'd come to our home. She was very important to me. She was a big spiritual role model to me. We were very close. And I'm telling you this because I met my husband at her funeral. And so it was we really feel like she brought us together, because I was really, really close to her. And my husband at the time was a pastor's assistant, with the youth and the church. So and he was looking to become a Greek Orthodox priest. So anyway, long story short, my aunt pushed me to sit at the table. No, I'm sorry, she pushed him to sit at the table with all of the single cousins.
I love your aunt already. She's like our Aunt Jane.
I know. Oh, yes. Yes, she's amazing. My tia Katerina, she's amazing. She pushed him to sit at the table with all of us, and he sat next to me, and, we had this really beautiful conversation. And, long story short, over time, I saw him more and more at that church, and it unfolded from there. And, but he happened. So in our faith, you have to be married first before you get ordained. So we were married, and then he became a Greek Orthodox priest.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. And I had gotten into my graduate program too. So when we first got married, so he became ordained, I went into graduate school. We were able to stay in Northern Virginia near my family, which was a blessing, because that doesn't always happen. Lots of times people get moved right away. We were able to stay there for the first 4 years. So we were able to enjoy my family, which was beautiful.
Oh, I love that.
Let me ask you a culture question because I'm always interested in this. So I heard you say your yaya, she's at your cousin's house, but then she's at your house on other weekends. Is it always in Greek culture? Is it very important to take care of the elders? Would you ever have said you're going to go to assisted living or when you're at that point? Or is it just known that you're going to take care of your family in home at that age of life?
That's a good question. Yes, I would say from Greece culturally, as especially back, I mean, going back generations, they typically would have been home with their family as long as possible, for sure. And then I think as the generations became, let's say, I want to say more Americanized, living in the United States, and there were times that maybe they realized they couldn't, they'd be more open to help. But my yaya lived with, all of us until she died. She died in her sleep peacefully without any known ailments that we were aware of.
Wow. I love that. It's because she ate so healthy, I'm sure is what it was. It's the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah. She was amazing. She was amazing. And she didn't want us to really care for her. I mean, she didn't want to be a burden on anybody. So she always wanted to be very self-sufficient and keep cooking for us and helping us and do all of those things. I would say, soon before she passed, there were some things I remember she'd come over and I'd help her with, and I realized that things were changing a little bit,
That is interesting.
And it was my pleasure if I could help her because she did so much for us. It was,
I love
it was a
that.
gift.
I love culture.
Well, and every culture is a little different. You're right about the being Americanized, if you think about it. And so, and here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with going into assisted living. Let's make sure that all of our listeners hear this. Our mom was in assisted living and in skilled nursing because it depends. The family dynamics change and it's very different, and that's okay. Don't beat yourself up. But the reality is respectfully, we do know people age better in the home and community. They just do, if you can do it. Now, mind you, I told my husband, Eleni, that, the moment he turned 55, when I heard about these senior living communities, I was like, sign me up. I'm going to be the youngest one there. I'm going to be the prettiest girl there. I mean, I don't want to compete with the 70-year-old ladies, but some of those ladies are still foxy. So I'm like, I'm in. I'm like, sign 3 hots and a cot and get my hair done once a week. I'm in. And so just know that, Jay. Just come visit me.
I'm ready.
If you will. So you had Bossy?
Bossy.
Thank you.
He is in Victor ASI Bossy.
Thank you, B. I had B. Okay, Bossy.
Oh, yeah.
That's easy. I can do this.
It's short for Basiliki.
Oh, I love it. It makes me feel like I'm home. Yes. So you had Bossy. So you and your husband had been married a handful of years then, I'm assuming, and had Bossy. And then, 7 years before you had Bossy.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought you said in general. We married 27 years. But we were married 4 years before we had Bossy.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh.
So you had Bossy. Yeah. Life is moving along. You're going to school to be a clinician. You're working towards your licensure. Your husband he's doing his church deal, like his Greek Orthodox ministry. And then comes along Sophia.
Yeah. Yeah, and at this point we were in Arizona. So after 4 years of Virginia, we were transferred to Arizona. That is when I found out I was pregnant with Bossy. And it was such a joy to stay home. I was able to stay home with her, and it was so beautiful. And Sophia she seemed normal when she was born. Honestly, we didn't have any indication of anything, that any challenges at the time. Her challenges were I always say they were very slow and they unfolded slowly. It was like she rolled over a little bit late, that was okay. She walked a little bit late, that was okay. It wasn't until we realized she really didn't have many words by 2.5 that, we had more flags. And then they noticed some other things about her, just little things started to add up. And then we realized that she had challenges. So then she was in developmentally delayed, kind of preschool, and then the classrooms, she'd be in special needs classrooms. But it was very slow. We still, it wasn't that we were in denial. We had doctors that would say she's just going to catch up at some point. But maybe at about 3 or 4 years old, we did have some scares, and we did have some geneticists that said she resembled certain syndromes that were really hard, to digest, and they would tell us about them, but they still weren't sure. So we would do testing, and then we would find out she didn't have it, things like that.
So that sounds like an emotional roller coaster for any parent as they're trying to support their child. And I know people will be like, a lot of people want to pinpoint the why, especially for children with disabilities or differing abilities. I prefer differing abilities, personally. And so, because they're different and she has her own skill set. And so, people want to say, well, did you do this vaccine or did you do this during, while she was in utero kind of thing? And it sounds to me like you had the same pregnancy that you did with your first daughter.
Yes. And in fact, this is so interesting. They're 2 years apart, 2 years and 2 weeks. They're both in January, but they were both born at 1:29 a.m. I had to, because I remember when I put out my announcements, I'm like, can you believe that? So I feel like I had deja vu, everything with that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, my.
Okay. So I'm going to take a break real quick. I can't believe we're already time for break 1. So much fun. Okay. I'm going to dance us into the break.
Okay. Oh, that was good. Dancing. All right, everybody, we are back here with Eleni Paris. Okay, Sophia has been born and she has some developmental delays. They've gotten notified by several doctors. They thought they had it pinned down. They still don't know maybe what that diagnosis is. So you've got 2 years apart with these girls. So I'm thinking you're handling these challenges.
And a handful.
And a two-year age difference with Vasi. You're married. Are you working at the same time too, Eleni?
A good question. Yes, kind of in and out. I did a few years. I went back into clinical work again in Arizona, and then I decided to take a break again because we had so much to deal with Sophia. So I always stayed connected in my field, whether I was, giving now they're webinars, workshops or, writing, publishing, things like that. But then my clinical world always had to kind of be in batches, just depending on what was going on with Sophia.
Yeah. Do you, when you look back as far as these time periods and even now, how do you think that has impacted the relationship, the growth with Vasi? Like, what was she doing while you were at these doctor's appointments and all this care that had to go over? Yeah, with Sophia.
Yes. She's so amazing. She still is. She's actually trying to become a marriage and family therapist, actually. So that's a whole other, yes, she went into the psych field, and it's really exciting to hear her passions all on her own. This is unfolded, actually for her. But she was always, Vasi was always very emotionally mature, and she, she just understood. I'm sure there were times it was hard. She was stepped to the side knowing we had behaviors to deal with and things like that. But my husband and I and our families, we tried to stay really cognizant of making sure we still spent a lot of time with Vasi or gave her special times with cousins or with us or things to fill any of those voids. I know we didn't do it perfectly, can't do it perfectly, but we tried to be aware of it, all along. And I would say, once we moved to Florida, and Sophia's behaviors became more challenging, the gap got bigger. See, so when she was littler, if you're 5 and you're kind of like a 2 or 3-year-old, that's not such a big deal all the time. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and you're still like a 2 or 3-year-old, the gap gets bigger. The behaviors can become bigger, challenging. Lots of things come into play. It probably, Vasi could speak for herself, but I would imagine it became a little more prominent in those years for her too, And anyway, so you can ask if you'd like if you want to talk about NIH, but that's when NIH popped up.
Yeah,
so we were
absolutely.
Here in Florida.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's go there.
Yes. We had an amazing pediatrician, and she always thought outside the box. And she thought, we don't really know what's going on with Sophia, right? You've gone to all these specialists, and when NIH has an undiagnosed program you should look into. You had to apply for it. I think the first time, it's not that I never made it into, but they'd say, okay, you have almost everything checked off. Here's a few more specialists you need to see first, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Anyway, we finally got in, and it was actually with Hurricane Irma. We were supposed to fly out right before Hurricane Irma. This is 2017. Vasi was supposed to stay home, and I was going to just go. I can't remember the arrangements, but I know my husband was going to stay home with Vasi. And then we found out about the hurricane. And my husband said, my goodness, what if I have to dash out in an emergency? And Vasi should go with you. I said, perfect, we'll go up. My mom still lives near NIH, so that was ideal, right?
Yeah.
So we get there, and they're like, we're so glad you brought Vasi. And they looked at Vasi and said, you're a very important part of our study. we're so glad you're here. In fact, they looked at me like, of course you were supposed to have Vasi with you. And I said, well, I mean, they didn't tell me that, I didn't know. I'm so glad that worked out so beautifully.
Yeah.
And so, Vasi got to get a tour of everything and listen a little bit about some stuff. And then she was able to meet with somebody that wanted to just talk with her about her experience.
Wow.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
We have, because we're international, what does NIH stand for?
The National Institutes of Health. Yes, a lot of people, I assume. Sorry.
No. It's totally fine. I was just thinking about that because I was like, wait a second. It's not just Americans who listen to our podcast. So, the equivalent to your own country's national health type group that does a lot of research. That's really what it is a place for research. Right. So what did they find? Because I think I want to make sure we're clear. Sophia, as she aged, she grew physically. Chronologically, she grew, but mentally and emotionally, she remained at that 2-year-old, give or take, age frame, correct?
Correct, in many ways. I mean, there was sometimes you would think, oh, she's like a teenager, she wants to pick out her outfit. I mean, little things that would come in, but yes, emotionally, verbally, she's still language, not much more than 18-month, 2-year-old.
So it's just not
comprehension all over the map. But yes, the gap got bigger for sure.
Okay, that makes sense. And so what were you guys able to find out that really potentially helped you as a caregiver, if you really think about it? Because you're a mother and a caregiver. Yeah. This is different because a lot of people be like, well, you're just a mom. And the answer is there's so much more when you have a child with differing abilities, all the appointments and the accommodations and which is a code for different things that you need to do to meet their needs. That's really what that is.
And actually, I remember when she got a little older, teenagers, I'd say into 18, maybe 18 years old, a little before 18, but I felt more like a caregiver. I mean, always her mom, always be her mom.
Right.
But I really, that really resonated with me more.
Yeah.
I started to really, because I think by that point, your children are doing more for themselves, and she still couldn't do a lot of things for herself. So that's when it was really even more clear at that time. But at NIH, what they discovered was, well, they realized that it was genetic, but they thought it was de novo, meaning it happened in utero, not necessarily genetic, like it came from my husband or I, even though my husband did have a younger brother with severe disabilities. They did not connect them. They were so different. They didn't make a connection with that.
Okay.
So they discovered that it was genetic, de novo. They still did not have a name. They thought she may have been they thought maybe she could have Smith-Magenis. Okay. Which I am part of the Smith-Magenis Facebook group because she's so similar. I even told other parents, this is not what my daughter has, but it's so similar. They thought she had it and she doesn't. And I learned from you, and this is so supportive for me. So I'm happy to be part of their group. But that came back negative. And even Dr. Smith, who helped originate the syndrome, saw Sophia and said, I think she might, let's look into this. This is possible. But it came back negative. So they think there's a little part of her DNA that they have found a number to that they're kind of looking into. They think that that's the culprit. And so there's the ongoing studies with that.
That is so interesting. So I think I want to go the direction of let's talk about you. And let's talk about how this experience over the window of time. I know that you said in kind of some information you sent, it ebbed and flowed. Right? You talk about how over the years, it ebbed and flowed, just as simple as that. So talk a little bit about that and how it impacted how, children changes every marriage, right? Because focus shifts, there's adjustments, and you're always going to have adjustments in your life. But what impact did this have on your marriage, on your relationship? And I would even go relationship, professionally, and even in the community, because you guys are connected to the community differently than a lot of people.
So there's both challenges and blessings to it all. I mean, it was very, very hard. There were times, and I've said this, and other times it can just bring you to your knees in exasperation. There were moments that I just didn't know what was going to happen in our future in many levels because it was so hard, in the moment. At the same time, because of our faith, I think because of our family support, our community, prayers, love, support, all of that, we couldn't have done it without our families. They stepped up to help us so much. all of that, I think, helps give us a strong foundation to work through the really hard moments. And, but my faith is, I think, central for sure.
I totally agree.
Because even in the moment of a challenge, I knew there were a lot of blessings wrapped in it, and not to minimize the hardships, because I'm not saying I always felt it. But I always tried to seek it out. And so I think that always, but I think I always felt it too, because my families, my parents, his parents, we were just all of our relatives had strong faith too. And I just think that all poured into the whole process.
So what does that support from your family? Because you're not living up in Northern Virginia with all the people. Like, so you've had to get new people, and you've just brought more people into your team, into your extended family.
Well, yes. I mean, we definitely had some dear friends that stepped in that became like, aunts, dear friends to our, helped us with the girls. But my parents ended up buying a condo to live near us.
I love them.
My husband's parents bought a house 10 houses down from us. And so we had some good old big fat Greek wedding, kind of family support close by, very close, right down the street. Although my mother and father-in-law, they rented the house out most of the time, but when it wasn't rented, they'd come stay. Absolutely. Or my brothers and sister-in-laws, everybody would come stay, and the cousins would come, and that was huge. That was huge. All of that. Yeah.
And so I know that you talk about, because you've got, you said you wrote a blog article once about that self-care is not only important, it's critical. And so when you have a child or you're caring for an individual, so I'll even make it broader. When you're caring for an individual that has a chronic, complex kind of, illness or disability, and you're the primary, I know that you're Sophia's probably preferred person. How do you do self-care? How do you maintain that relationship with your husband while also, like, how do you keep that protected?
Yeah, that's a great question. I protect it big time. I prioritize it, and I sprinkle it all throughout my calendar, and I prep for what I don't know is around the bend, because I've learned too many times, in just like life in general, but I think especially in the caregiving journey, there's more to come on some level. Each stage changes and is redefined in some way. Mm-hmm. And so I keep it going in many, many ways. So it might be that I sprinkle my long walks in there, yoga. My husband and I take long walks together. I schedule coffee meetings or lunches with friends. Mm-hmm. I put it in, and it's all over my calendar. Besides, I'm obviously working, and I got Sophia, but I'm sprinkling it in when I can to take care of myself in the moment. And I also feel like it's refueling me for what's ahead. That's how I look at it too.
And you and your husband have opportunities to go away because you've got a team built. I keep coming back to a team.
Yes. Yes. I call it now Sophia's Greek village. We have a big, we do have a lot of help in many ways. I've worked on that diligently as well. I knew that at some point I just had to keep reaching out. I mean, mainly, our families. My mom does come and help with overnights. Mm-hmm. But we also tell my mom, we honor the fact that she's getting older too. I mean, she's a young 80, but she's getting older too. And so we have to look for more, too. So we have other people that step in to help us. For the overnights, it's been my mom now. We are looking and seeking and praying and working on that for the future as well, with having other people in our lives for that. It's been very important for my husband and I, because don't forget that my husband was tending to large communities always. Every church we've been at has been over 500, 600, 700 families at least. Wow. So we had to, even that alone, even if we didn't have the caregiving journey, that alone would have entailed purposeful carve out time, for us. Then we have this on top of it. So we had to be very creative and protect it strongly. Oh, wow. Yeah.
I'm looking at JJ because I'm looking at Jay because I feel like she's got a question inside of her, but she also has a slight concussion.
I keep forgetting my question.
I know you do. That's why if there's a pause, like JJ's forgetting her questions because she sort of like hit her head last week, and I'm it's not
concussion. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's not that.
I'll come back to it, and then I'll interrupt Natalie. I'll be like, "Moo, it's my turn."
Moo. So it's so interesting because I think that you have a career and your husband has a career. I like tending to the flock, and he's got a big flock. But you're doing great things as a licensed marriage and family counselor. But then you're also coordinating to make sure Sophia's taken care of. How do you balance all those balls? How do you and your husband, because I think there could be, especially for parents who are new to having a child with disability and thinking, how am I going to do this? And do I lose myself? Let's go that direction.
Yes, I love that you brought that up. I'm very passionate about this. So I have a strong passion for my background. I knew from a young age I wanted to go into psychology. I knew at a young age I wanted to go into marriage and family therapy. And then I had to keep putting it on pause in some ways, the clinical space, because of, my world with being a parent and Sophia and everything. The pauses, though, the breaks have led me up to where I am now. Mm-hmm. I know for a fact that I'm a better therapist now because of what I learned and grew from in my personal world, 1,000%. So I would say to those, young parents that listen, it can come. Don't lose faith. Don't lose hope that that's going to go away. Just know that it's going to come in maybe at a different time or in a different way. Mm-hmm. Never say never. I actually used to think I was going to never re-enter the clinical space. I wasn't sure if there'd be room for that. And then I would say, so some years ago when we were in Florida, I missed having my professional wheels turning and I wanted to help people again outside. I just wanted to do this again, but I didn't think the clinical world would make sense. So I got a job at my local YMCA as a health coach. Yeah. And I had so much fun, and it was definitely a bridge because then it started to make me think even more and more about the clinical space again. And then COVID hit, and a lot of people have those stories, but it forced me to look into it again, and it was time, and I love it. So to balance it, I own my own business, and I'm solo, and so I only work when Sophia is in school. And I have strong boundaries around my work hours as well. Mm-hmm. I have strong boundaries around the kinds of cases and things everything I'm thoughtful. I want to be very thoughtful about what I'm going to say yes to, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. So I'm realistic about my home life.
I like that. And this is a good place to take a break for a sec. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
All right. All right, everybody, we are coming back with Eleni Paris. And guess what? I remembered my question.
Oh, I was so glad. I knew JJ was pausing because she couldn't remember her question.
I am so glad because this is something we talk about. And I want to because you have really got this down pat, I think. And this is with no matter the age, no matter what the illnesses or the differing ability. So I think it's important. Sophia is 20 now, correct, Eleni?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so she, like you said, as they get older, a lot of people in public don't understand she may be acting out. We have the same issue maybe with the other people. My mom, for example, and we were talking with someone on the podcast yesterday that his mom maybe goes up to the children and talks too long. And we talked about, when that loved one spills food or things like that, and you get embarrassed. It's actually your fault. Tell me about when you go out in public, if you had advice to give other parents, again, new parents, or when you have those type of situations that make you uncomfortable because it makes other people uncomfortable. Yeah. Tell me about things that you do to deal with that. For people that are struggling?
That's such a good question because I have a confession to make with that. Speaking of confessions, there were times I hid. Yeah. I did. I had to because I would take Sophia out and the behaviors were so bad that I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to go out into public spaces with her. Yeah. I still sometimes have to be thoughtful about what those public spaces are going to be. But one thing I learned was as long as I learned over time that, and as she got better, she ended up going on some medications as well. And she's in an amazing school. There's a big packet of what brought her up to a better place now, so to speak. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I would invite people that I knew would be a good buffer to certain places. Oh, like that restaurant might work with my aunt and uncle as an example. That could work. Maybe we could do this if I invite so-and-so at this time of day at that place. because I knew it wasn't healthy, of course, to just, well, she wasn't shielded because she'd go to school, right? That's like a social place for her, but to not go anywhere outside of our home and school, I wanted to be able to do that again, because we used to do it a lot when she was younger. But when it got harder and those behaviors were big, I did. I really stepped back for a while, because it was too much.
And I think that's what I keep hearing you say is, respectfully, I don't know if it's, I can't do this alone. I don't want to do it alone. And I know I'm better when I have the other folks around me
Resources,
and who are, and looking at their skill set and what did they bring to the table, honestly, to help keep you regulated as well.
Yes. It started to become, it started to become a little bit more about my anxiety levels at times, rightfully so, because I had so many experiences of horrible meltdowns somewhere and she was getting bigger, and it just got so hard. That it became, I was like, well, Miss Sophia might have a great time, but I don't know if I wanted to, I would think about things like that. Like, I don't know if I have it in me. And so I had to really think about who would make me feel comfortable too, to do that. Or if we did have a meltdown, that I had that support right then, and they'd get it. They'd be okay. They know her. They know me, that it's okay. And just so you know too, I had to stop going to church on Sundays, which was really hard as a pastor's wife. Can you imagine? Like, that was really hard, because I naturally, let's put that role aside. I loved my faith and I loved going to church, but it became so hard for her. And it became very hard for me to manage her. And so, but the good news is, then we had church, online, so we could do that now.
Silver lining of the pandemic, girl. Yeah. Silver lining. Yeah. We've,
silver lining.
Yeah, I mean, it really is, and I think that's caregiving too. The pandemic actually brought caregiving to the forefront, because so many people got thrust into almost a caregiving type role, if you think about it. And and that's when you not only saw the nurses, we saw caregivers, the paid caregivers, but then we started talking about the unpaid caregivers. And that's where the numbers start to exponentially increase with people who self-identified as caregivers. Like, oh, I didn't realize I was that. It's interesting. I'm assuming with the being able to go to church on Sunday, it really leaned into overstimulation for her. It was too much for her, all the people, the noise, all of that.
I used to say, what do we expect her to, what is she understanding? What do we expect her to do for an hour and a half, to pray and be that spiritual and silent and quiet and meditative? And, it was too much to expect of her. And then she would act out. And I'll never forget, this is when I really hit my wall. I remember I did my best to get the girls, and I'm sure Vasi remembers a lot of this, but I'd get them ready, and it was hard, and Sophia would have a hard moment, but I got him out the door. Doggone it, I did it. We got to church, and we'd be standing there, and I could tell Sophia was getting anxious, which means she would turn to me and start, who knows what, pulling my hair, something to get my attention, and I was like, oh, no. And I'll never forget, I had a parish council member that came up to me at the end. He said, I just want you to know, like, I don't know why you're here. We love you. We want you here. But how are you doing this?
Wow.
He just totally, I'll never forget. I started crying. I was like, I don't know. Like, he was so, just to hear that from him, that he noticed, he goes, just want you to know, we pray for you. This must be so hard for you. He just got it. And I remember that was a turning point for me. And I said, and I didn't think it was healthy to arrive there in that way. It was such a hard, the whole morning was so difficult just to get there,
permission.
Our mom used to say that when we would go through the fight and the struggle to get to church, we would pull into church, and she'd be like, I don't even know why we came to church. There was fighting over, little things. It was clothes or it was this. And she was like, I don't even know why we're at church.
I was mostly watching JJ do her hair, and she didn't want me to.
And so I can't imagine, the struggle to get with what you had to get ready yourself and the two girls. I can't imagine the same situation.
Oh,
what he said.
I can't even.
But then arrive there with the behavior, with like how she was feeling once we got there. But then over the years, I would find some quiet times, or again, like I found a quiet service. I'd have a friend meet me. We'd go.
Yeah.
We have a monastery that's not too far from us that I heard was really nice to go to. So I started going like once a month, and Sophia loved it. It was quiet, and it was beautiful. And then I was like, okay, she could do this if we're with a few people, and again, the right help. And so slowly but surely, I rebuilt trust in her and myself and the environment. Like I just, and slowly started kind of stepping back out again.
Oh, I love that.
It just seems like I love the fact that even when you come to something and it seems like a roadblock, you work and you find a way. You're like, okay, let's try this. And I hear an amazing support system, but again, and I know Natalie and I talk about this a lot, support system doesn't always have to be family, because it can be friends. It can be someone that's, at a restaurant, and
it could be the mailman.
It could be the mailman bringing your mail. And so you have to you can look for advocates for yourself in the most random places.
So true. Yeah. And you have to do that. You have, I mean, it sounds a cliche, but I mean, to reach out for help, it's critical. It's part of the self-care piece. It's healthy. It's healthy, but, it does take trust and it takes time, so I understand that. It's not an easy process.
Well, and I think the other word is vulnerability, because you have to be willing to be vulnerable with other people and not fear rejection and judgment. Because I think especially with children who have behavioral challenges, I think that can be really hard. And there is, I knew about an incident that happened the other day, and a child that was just really dysregulated because they're on the airplane and there's too much stimulation. I can only imagine trying to get Sophia on an airplane, and the seatbelt and the noise, and it's tight, and people are all there. And then you're like, I don't want to cause a scene. You don't want to, you start becoming very keenly aware of everyone else too.
Oh, yeah.
It's a second set of eyes. And so I would think that would be hard.
Yeah, totally. I don't fly with her anymore. We used to fly. That could happen, but I'm not going to never say never.
Right.
I don't see it happening for a long time, but we were flying for a long time. And then now I have, the past few times I've gone to Virginia, I took a break from going to Virginia. I used to go every summer, and, we used to fly when they were little. Then I took a break, and the last 2 times I've gone up with a friend. I've driven up there with Sophia, likes car rides. So that worked out okay.
Win. That was a win.
Fantastic.
God was like,
found another way.
And who doesn't love a road trip?
I know.
I think this is important, and I want to hit on this because I know we're getting towards our end of our time. I'm like, oh, why don't we have an hour? Sophia's 20 years old, and that number I am keenly aware of that because of the field that I work in. Because I know she has an IEP, which is an individualized education plan. I know that she has protections through that IEP, through the school system and the schools that she has access to. And services change when you become 21, and when you hit 21 and you're out in 365, when you're 22, depending on how her birthday is, how are you and your husband planning now? Because I know you're a planner. How are you planning for her to not lose? And this is the biggest thing that I think any parent with a child that has had an IEP especially, is that you have all access to these services. And then at 21 or 22, depending on the birth date, they really become very challenging. And what's your initial plan? Because it's going to ebb and flow.
Yes, I've already been researching. I know there are adult day programs.
Mm-hmm.
She is on the Medicaid waiver list. She does have Social Security. She has those things that have come into play now that are going to help for when she turns 22.
Right.
But there are adult day programs that are going to be similar to like a school day.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've already started making my calls and just inquiring about them. So I'm a little prepared.
Yeah.
We are thinking ahead on many levels. There's a lot to think about. So we have to kind of do our homework, and what I say is I get a lot of information and I just kind of let it marinate and sit for a while, and then, something will come up again at the next stage. But I'm trying now to look ahead for sure. It will shift.
And even the God forbid question, because you say you're going to be her caregiver for her lifetime, also yours, you and your husband. And so does Vossi say identify as part of that plan for Sophia? Or do you see where I'm going? Because if something happens, God forbid, to you and your husband.
Yeah. Yes.
That's every parent's fear.
Yeah. So I think okay, so we're going to always be her caregiver in the sense of we're her parents and we're her guardians. And we're going to always care for her, and we're going to do our best to care for her for as long as it makes sense with us.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But we do have to be open to what other possibilities for her care, for her future. It's a very tough subject, very tough, but it's important to face it. So we're also researching what those options are in the future for if and when that is needed.
Yeah, and I'm
that's
not looking
where-
for the
yeah.
the bullet point of your thing, but those are our difficult conversations. Like, it's a difficult conversation to have with our parents. Like, what's the plan long term? We never expected our dad to pass, and then we were thrust into caregiving, and that was the one thing that I look back, like a hindsight's 2020 with our mom. It was like, oh, I wish we'd planned differently. And sometimes it's just POA. Like, we didn't have a POA, we didn't have certain things, and so I think just being able to say, and I appreciate you saying, be open to the alternative. And if you choose the alternative, like assisted living or congregate, for example, in our mom's case, it doesn't mean you're a bad parent.
No. And it might even make you better. I mean, that's the thing. I want it to be, we have to look at what is best for our child or parent and whatnot, and for all the big picture of everything. And sometimes it's different than what you envisioned, and so you have to be open to learning. And again, this is where, my faith comes in, and just feeling God's nudges toward what is supposed to be, what's the healthiest for all. We have a lot to think about in this lifetime, with Sophia. But I think you're still always a caregiver. And even if you have to make that decision, or they can't live with you at some point,
I agree with that.
you're still it in many ways. You just may not be it in the physical pieces of it, or you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, we deal with that all the time. Just because our mom's in skilled nursing, our caregiving responsibilities shifted, and not in the direction that you would anticipate. I feel like and especially JJ. JJ is the primary. Sophia loves you. My mother prefers JJ. It is JJ, 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 JJ. Like, JJ's like, I'm like, there's not enough J's in the alphabet, Mom. And so there's no Natalie's. And so for me, it becomes, how do I support Jay? Because my mom wants her. And I think that would be the same for someone caring for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia or any neurological, neurocognitive disorders. There are people that the person prefers. And and that doesn't make me lesser. I just feel bad for Jay. I feel bad. And I'm like, Jay, what can I do for you? And I'm like, I'm just going to massage your shoulder.
That's perfect.
And it's kind of like, my husband knows that. As much as she loves him and stuff, he knows that I am her breath. I'm everything to her. I mean, I'm it.
Well, and I understand why, because you're pretty darn wonderful. I'm going to tell you right now, I get why she loves you so much.
Thank you.
Jay, it's time for sister questions.
I know.
Let's do it.
So Natalie and I joked we were going to ask you about your hair product, but we're not going to do that.
No.
We're going to jump through that.
I do want to know it for the show notes.
Yeah. So we will.
I'll tell you.
So here's my question. Where Sophia is now, like where she's 20, what is your hope? What is your dream for her life? Like,
oh, good question.
What do you hope for?
You're going to make me cry. Oh. That's okay too. She's a really happy soul. So my dream for her is that never goes away. She continues to be happy, happier, happiest, and safe, and well loved and cared for always. I will make sure of it till the day I die. I will make sure of it on whatever level, but that is my hope for her. That whole combination of her happiness, her health, her safety, everything is just always there for her.
Oh, I love that. It's paramount. All right, here's my question, because it's always my favorite. What is your favorite guilty pleasure? What is the one thing you do just for you that you just love?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one, because I sometimes feel like I have a few little things.
That's okay. Do what feels good to you, girl.
Oh, boy. Lately I've rediscovered some writing and poetry and stuff. So I've kind of had this little I've kind of gone into my own little world to do some of that. So that's my own little thing. It's like a new thing that I haven't shared with too many, just started sharing a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's a creative little outlet. And I would say all the things I was telling you before. I mean, really, my walks are my therapy, my medicine. Yoga, I love yoga. I feel like I don't know what it would be like if I didn't have that. My time with my husband. Chocolate. Okay, maybe chocolate. I don't know. That's something that I actually will. I was at the store the other day and I was like, oh, this is nice. I'm getting this box of chocolate for myself.
That's what I'm talking about. That's
yes. Oh, yes. Yes. So, some good food and a good show or something and just go cocoon. I like cocooning. I've been using that word a little bit lately.
Yeah.
You know what?
Time.
And the writing is a way to cocoon. If you think about almost like dissociation, like that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like think about that creative space that you're able to get to when you go into yourself and you really think, who am I and what do I love? And when you say that now you're writing and you're doing the poetry, that is your inner self just kind of blossoming again.
It is. Yes. Thank you. And it actually came about after doing some good cocooning. Like I took some time off over Christmas break and Sophia was busy somewhere and I cocooned and that's when it kind of came about. So there you go.
Oh, I love that.
Love it.
Eleni, thank you so much. You know what? I know that you got a website actually, and there's all kinds of resources and good stuff on there. What's the website again? I want to make sure people hear it.
Yes, www.eleniparis.lmft.com. So that's ELENIPARIS.LMFT.com. And that stands for Licensed Marriage and Family Therapist, if you're wondering.
Oh, I love that.
That's
and
why.
We'll make sure that that's in the show notes for everybody. And if you want to go and check out that website and connect with her, that'll be wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love it. We have a new sister in Florida.
I know, new sister.
She's going to be like, why are you here, Natalie? Why are you showing up in my house? I was like, I thought we were going for a walk. Because I do love yoga, girl.
Please.
Girl.
Please.
I love yoga.
Come for a long walk. It's beautiful here. Or I'll meet you in Virginia when I come up there.
Oh my gosh. Remember, Virginia's for lovers. So yes. And I'm 20 minutes up the road from Blacksburg. So that's all I am.
Gosh.
Super
Perfect.
close. Guys, thanks so much for listening in. We appreciate you. And until we confess again, we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Well, friends, that's a wrap on this week's confession. Thanks so much for listening in to the podcast. But before you go, please take a moment to leave us a review and tell your friends about the Confession Show. Don't forget, visit our website to sign up for our newsletter, as well as connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Twitter. You'll also find the video recording of all our episodes on the Confessions website and our YouTube channel. We'll see you next Tuesday when we come together to confess again. Till then, take care of you. Okay, let's talk disclaimers. We are not medical professionals and are not providing any medical advice. If you have medical questions, we recommend that you talk with a medical professional of your choice. As always, my sisters and I at Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver have taken care in selecting the speakers, but the opinions of our speakers are theirs alone. The views and opinions stated in this show are solely those of the contributors and not necessarily those of our distributors or hosting company. This podcast is copyrighted and no part can be reproduced without the express written consent of the Sisterhood of Care, LLC. Thank you for listening to the Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver podcast.